What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to SoCal Exploring, your number one stop for all things theme park and haunt attraction related. Welcome back, and if you're new here, make sure to click that subscribe button to see all things related to theme parks and haunts with those bell notifications on. Check us out on social media for all of our theme park pics and haunt pics at SoCal Exploring Media, and then you can check us out on Twitter as well at SoCal Exploring. Lastly, visit our website SoCalExploring.com so you can keep up to date with all the detailed information regarding theme parks and other stuff like that. Today we are going to be talking about HHN 2019's scariest mazes. So all of the mazes at Halloween Horror Nights are typically very scary, but today I'm going to be breaking down from least scariest to most scariest on all of the 9 mazes, not including Walking Dead, because a lot of you guys call me out on not including Walking Dead in these videos, but that's because Walking Dead has been around for like 4 years. It's a permanent attraction, a daytime attraction year round, so I don't count it in any of my rankings videos or anything like that. Some people do, but personally me, I don't like it. A lot of people don't like it, and it makes no point to include it in these ranking videos if it's just the same thing every year. But there's 9 mazes at Halloween Horror Nights this year, and we're going to be breaking down, like I said, the scariest or the least scariest to the most scariest. Now keep in mind, these are just my opinions, and I hope that this video helps you guys for all you first time goers that have not gone to HHN quite yet this season but are planning to go, and you want to start off with the easier maze so you're not as scared, or you want to work your way up to the scariest maze. I hope this helps out a little bit. I did a prediction video, so real quickly let's run down what my rankings were for the prediction of the scariest mazes. So these were pre HHN rankings, so this was before the event even started. For the scariest maze, we'll start off with my least prediction scariest, which was Ghostbusters, and then it went into Holidays in Hell, and then the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and then Stranger Things, and then Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, and then Us. Or actually, I skipped one. Before Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, it was Creepshow. So Creepshow, Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, Jordan Peele's Us, House of Thousand Corpses, and The Curse of Pandora's Box. Those are my pre-rankings, so my predictions for which ones are the scariest. But now, let's start off with the scariest that are actually, like, that we can actually talk about the rankings on which ones are the scariest and which are the least scariest. Let's hop right into Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2019 most scariest mazes. With each different ranking, I'm going to be giving the biggest scare in my opinion, the one that I got scared out the most out of each and every maze. So at number 9, and this is not just because I'm bashing the maze, but it's Stranger Things. Stranger Things was the least scariest maze at Halloween Horror Nights this year, Hollywood at least. The Demodogs were not scary at all. They're very tiny. I got no scares in there at all. Some of the lab assistants, I guess, had good scares. I mean, if you really were walking through the maze when there wasn't a conga line, because for the most part this maze has a conga line. Each 2 times that I've been in there, I've been stuck in a conga line, and it takes forever to get out of there because of the conga line, and you get no scares for the ones that, like, I guess you could get. The biggest scare in this maze is a mind flare at the end, hands down. For season 3, that's probably the biggest scare. It's also probably the biggest puppet in there out of all the Demodogs. And this is just its head, so that's probably the biggest scare. But other than that, the Demodogs are really tiny, and there's not really any other scares throughout it at all. I mean, not even Hopper or Joyce come out and scare you at all. There's really nothing in there to be scared about at all. It's more of like you're just walking through to look at it. Number 8 is Holidays in Hell. Holidays in Hell, it's, like I said, I predicted it at number 8 before, and that's where it belongs on the scary rankings. There's a lot of good scares in there, however they're not very strong, but the biggest scare for this one is the Halloween Pumpkinhead UV lighting scene. We had this in the Halloween 2 maze. If you guys went to the event in 2016, we had the same effect. It was really neat, it was really scary, and with the Halloween section and the Holidays in Hell, it was pulled off very good, so props to Murdy. Every time I go through there, I never know where they're going to be. I know there's one stilt walker in there, and that's about it, but other than that, they typically, for the most part, kind of change up where they are sometimes, and I get good scares in there, which I really like, but overall, the maze isn't very high on the scare factor. Number 7 goes to Ghostbusters. And Ghostbusters, there's a lot of good scares in there. I mean, Slimer, I will never get scared of when he pops out of. It just looks too goofy to get scared of. The terror dogs, they're pretty good. You can see when they're coming out, so it's not really like they're coming out of darkness or anything. You're walking towards them and you can see exactly when they're coming out, so they're not as scary. The library ghost is very scary. I like that scare a lot. But the biggest scare in this maze, for me at least, is Gozer. Just about as you're about to go into the Stay Puft scene, the giant Stay Puft scene, Gozer comes out of nowhere and scares you because you're walking into a light and then she comes out from a boo hole and scares you. And it's a really neat scare. I always get scared by it because I never expect it, even though I keep my guard up, like I know what's coming, but as I'm walking through the maze, I'm like, there's no scare there, and then I forget that there's one, and it always scares the living hell out of me. So Gozer is definitely the best scare in Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters is at number 7 for my most scariest HHN maze. Number 6 goes to the Curse of Pandora's Box, which this one was my most anticipated for scare level. However, it's not as Murdy described it. Now, keep in mind, I've been saying a lot how Pandora's Box is underrated, which I think it is. I think it's a very underrated maze. But Pandora's Box, however, wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be because Murdy said that it was going to be more of a dark UV and everything. And but it wasn't. It's more bright and everything, which I like. But however, I will say there are very good scares in here. One in particular, my biggest scare, is you go into that kind of the skeleton scene room where the skeletons are hiding behind cages, and then the lights turn off, and then all of a sudden the lights turn on and they're right in your face. I love that scare so much. It's so good. It gets me every time because you never know where these skeletons are going to jump out from. They're hiding in these cages and you see them and everything, and then the lights go off like I said, and then they're in your face. It's such a good scare. I love that scare. A notable scare also is the guy on stilts. He's sitting there on stilts, and it looks like he's just a statue, but then all of a sudden lights flash and he comes and jumps at you and he gets right in my face. I mean, here's a picture of me taking a picture of him being absolutely terrified by this dude. So props to whoever that actor is on stilts in there every single day. Number 5 goes to Killer Klowns from Outer Space. Killer Klowns from Outer Space, very strong maze as far as scare goes. I think it was great. I think that even though the clowns are all goofy and everything, there's plenty of scares in here. There's a couple boo holes where they jump out and it's unpredictable. The elevator one, or not the elevator one, but the kind of turning tunnel or the turning door one where you lead into the cotton candy cocoon area. There's that used to work where it opened up. I haven't seen it work the past couple times. I don't know. I've only been through it 3 times, unfortunately, because the wait times have been so high. But the first time I went through, it was working, and I haven't seen it worked ever since. I don't know if it actually is working or not, but when that does work and he comes out and scares you, I think that's a great scare. I also think the one as you first go in to the actual maze is a very good one where he's up above you to your left. However, those are not the biggest scare in my opinion. The biggest scare is the 3 at the end. You have one clown on the right of you. You have one clown on the left of you. And then you have Clownzilla's head coming out at you. So good because they all attack you at the very end. I love mazes like that where they have an ending where you get like 4 different scares or 3 different scares. I think that's phenomenal. I absolutely am terrified when I walk through there because you're getting scares from every angle. It's great. And even though we don't have a giant Clownzilla like Orlando's house does, we still have a huge head of Clownzilla, which came out really nice and gets tons and tons of good scares. Another notable scare is the bathroom scene where you see the baby clowns. Those come out like, they have a very loud noise when they come out, and they come out very fast and scare guests from both different angles. Number 4 is Creepshow. There's tons of good scares in here. I really enjoy the one in Gray Matter, which if you haven't checked out Creepshow on Shudder yet, because the new series is out and there's 2 different tales based off of Creepshow, the TV series, in the actual maze, which is Gray Matter and Bad Wolf Down. Make sure you go check out Creepshow. It's now on Shudder. Gray Matter is already out, and then Bad Wolf Down comes out on Thursday, I believe. But now that I watched Gray Matter and I understand what the alien is popping out at us, it's really nice to know that. But one of the scares in there at the very end scene of Gray Matter, you're going through kind of like these sheets and everything because in the show, spoilers alert, in the show, This guy asked his son to board up all the walls and everything with sheets because he can't be affected by light and such like that. And so you get all those sheets and quilts and everything that you're walking through in the maze, and then all of a sudden the alien comes out and scares you. That's a very good scare. But you know what? The biggest scare, how can I not give it to the creep? Because you see the creep so many times throughout this maze, and each time he's pulling away like this kind of a sheet thing instead of just a traditional boo hole. He's pulling off a sheet thing and coming out and scaring guests. I really like that scare. Each time I get scared by the creep, there's the one at the end I feel like I get the most, even though I know it's coming. That's one of the ones that I know is coming again, but I feel like I always get scared the most in that one. And they're all throughout the maze. I think it's a very, very strong scare, and I love seeing the creep. I mean, it's cool to see him. Even though I'm being terrified by him, it's very cool to see him in live action. Number 3 goes to Rob Zombie's House of 1,000 Corpses. Now, I walked through this maze alone a couple of times last time we went to Horror Nights. I must say, it's terrifying alone. I mean, it's terrifying when you're walking through with a group too, but when you walk alone, it's terrifying. And you guys can see why if you've been through the maze. It's a very gory maze, very dark maze, very scary, and the biggest scare in my opinion, which this one is kind of hard to pick because there's a lot of scares and a lot of you may not agree with me on this one, but at least the biggest scare for me was the Tiny Stilt Walker. Tiny is the name of the character that comes out on stilts just before you enter the Firefly family house. It comes out of nowhere, and for a lot of people, if you don't know it's coming, then it's going to scare you because he comes flying out on these stilts, and props to him because he literally comes so fast out on the stilts. He gets down low and scares guests, and I really, really enjoy that scare, and I think that it's the scariest scare. I'm saying scary a lot on this video. That's okay though. On opening night when I went, that was the one scare that got me the best. There's also a couple notable scares with Dr. Satan at the end and Captain Spaulding all throughout the first part of the ride. I almost said movie. All throughout the first part of the ride, Captain Spaulding's coming out with amazing scares. There's one in I believe the second scene that gets me all the time, and it's really good. But Tiny is definitely my favorite scare, and the biggest scare, for me at least, in House of 1,000 Corpses. Number 2 goes to Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman. Now with this maze, there's characters coming at you from everywhere. You never know where you're going to get scared, and that's what I love the most about it. It's dark, you hear the music playing, you go into the gypsy camp area and everything, and the Wolfman comes out of nowhere, and it's just everywhere that you go, there's going to be a scare. In every corner that there is, there's going to be a scare, and I really, really, really enjoy that. I think it's a phenomenal scare level maze, and I think that this would definitely make you want to run away and run through the maze. But don't run through the maze. Don't do that to people. That's rude and unsafe. But this maze is terrifyingly scary. Now, my biggest scare in here is the dual scare in the frozen catacomb scene where the Wolfman pops out, and you think it's done, but then Frankenstein pops out on the right side. Absolutely phenomenal. I love those dual scares. It is great, and you get terrified in this maze. I mean, I am not one to get very scared in mazes, and this maze absolutely terrifies me. I couldn't imagine walking through it alone. I mean, I could do it, but I'd probably be jumping every single scare. That's just opinion. I think Wolfman's scares are a lot stronger than Frankenstein's, though. However, because you see the Wolfman a lot more, and there's just more unpredictable scares from the Wolfman than Frankenstein. And that brings us to our number 1 scariest maze for Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2019, which was Jordan Peele's Us. This maze is just so dark. It's so dark, and dark in a good way. Not dark like Black Walls. It's just so dark because you're going through the mirror maze in the beginning. It's very dark in there, and then you see one of the characters pop out at you out of nowhere. He looks like he's just standing with the rest of the family. You have Abraham come out at you in the doorway. Sometimes you can't even see him coming out of that one. But my biggest scare in this one is the twins. The twins, they come out of you at the same exact time from 2 different parts, and you have to walk through that section of the maze. Towards the middle of the maze, they come out at you and they scare you. I always try to speed through there a little bit because I know they're coming, and especially when I'm the front one in line for the maze. I know they're coming and I don't really want to get scared by them sometimes, so I try to speed through there, but they get me every time. Props to those characters for timing out perfectly. I wonder how they do it. They time that out perfectly to both jump out at the same exact time, because sometimes they're like spot on the same. But overall, this maze is just so dark. It's so terrifying. I love it. I love the dark feel to it. And it's not dark in a bad way, like I said. It's not just black walls everywhere. It's just a very dark and very beautiful maze. And that is why it is my number one most scariest maze for Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood 2019. And that wraps it up for this video. Let me know what you guys think was the most scariest maze down below in the comments section. I'd like to see your guys' take on this. But this was my list, and I hope you guys enjoyed it and can somewhat agree on it. If you want to check us out on social media, make sure to do so at SoCalExploring Media on Instagram and at SoCalExploring on Twitter, and click that subscribe button if you want to see more HHN related content and theme park related content. Lastly, visit our website SoCalExploring.com for more detailed theme park updates and haunted attraction news. I have been Scott, and you have been watching SoCal Exploring. Thank you all so much for the support as of recently. Let's get to 4,000 subs before closing night. I think we can do it. Right now we're sitting at 3.3k, almost 3.4k. So let's try our best to get to 4,000 subs by closing night. That'd be really cool. Thank you guys for all the support. Positivity is key. Stay spooky, everybody. And most importantly, remember to keep exploring. Peace.